Hello and welcome to new episode of Sommelier's Course with a different name though. Now it's called Wine and a bit more. And that's because I would like to start a podcast or videocast. Obviously, I will keep on talking about wine. I will keep on doing the wine lectures and lessons, but I will also invite some guests. I will talk about different beverages, food, cigars. Well, in general, I hope you would like it. So before we start with the new lesson, I would like to wish you a happy and prosperous new year and a lot of good wines. Today's lesson will be blind wine tasting, but not any blind wine tasting. It's gonna be techniques of professional wine tastings. Those are techniques that professional wine judges, well, hopefully, use on the competitions. But you can use those techniques when you do fun back at home, like a blind wine tasting, or maybe to determine the quality of the wine that you order in a restaurant, in the wine shop, or maybe to check the ratings of the wines that you found in your favorite wine magazines. Maybe you have some other opinion on that. However, those techniques are very useful and they are a lot of fun. Now, uh, I will make three different videos, or I will make three segments of this lesson because once you get into routine, uh, blind wine tasting or this professional wine tasting can literally last for several tenths of seconds. All right. But to explain everything, each and every point of the tastings, and those points you will find in the description of the video, really takes a long time. So that's why I will make different segments. And certainly, I would strongly recommend that every time you taste the wine or you drink the wine, that you buy in the shop. So it means that you see the bottle in front of yourself. So you see the region, you see the grape variety, vintage, alcohol level. To do these techniques, I mean, to do this blind tasting as per the chart, and then you will get into the routine very, very fast. Okay. So for uh, tasting, you always need the clean glass. What kind of glass you're going to use, it's completely up to you because you will pass through each and every segment of the wine. Okay. On professional wine tasting, they use usually in-out glass, but as I said, you can use any glass you want. Um, hmm, some glass making companies wouldn't really agree, but and that would be right because shape of the wine glass matters, but only for the people who are not you. Because after this one, you will know how to taste the wine, so it doesn't matter what kind of glass you use. Okay. Uh, you also need white surface. Whether that's gonna be white tablecloth or paper from the printer or white table, doesn't matter. The surface needs to be white because you wanna check the color. For this lecture, it's not important to use the same wine as I do because technique is the same, yeah? But anyway, I use Chardonnay. What you also need, you need that chart that, as I said, you'll find in the description of the video, and you need a good will. The best wine tasting is always done in the morning. All right. Let me say you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, which I seriously doubt because I usually don't wake up at that time. However, if you wake up at 7 o'clock, you will brush your teeth, you will have your breakfast, and then around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, you will be already prepared for the new meal. So it means that your tasting buds, you'll receive the taste and certainly you will receive aromas much better. Now, Before we start with the first point, I would also suggest one more thing. A lot of people told you stick the nose in the glass. Well, why not? But instead, just to put the nose in the glass, I would also suggest in the same time to pull the air through your nose and your mouth. It's kind of inconvenient to do like this. Okay, that's not fun. So, what I do like this. At the time when I open my mouth, the air goes much faster through my nose, and then the air that goes through my mouth makes this aroma a little bit diluted. So, if believe it or not, aroma gets much better, much stronger. Or some people like to use one nostril. Okay? Well, you can do the way that suits you. So, now we are ready. Follow the chart. First thing, petillance. So, the first thing that we checked is whether wine is still or sparkling or semi sparkling, petillant in any way. Now, there are two reasons for bubbles in the bottle. One is CO2, obviously, and the other one is high acidity or higher acidity. So, wines from the cool regions tend to have higher acidity, okay? And then you will find, in most cases, the bubbles at the bottom of the glass. Once you swirl them, they will start disappearing. Now, that acidity can be natural, so it means wine comes from the cool region, or can be added because in some warmer climate countries, the acidification or adding acidity is allowed practice. Okay, so we don't know yet what is the case in this. I mean, what happened to this wine? But once we start doing the smelling, all right, and tasting of the wine, we will know whether this is the natural acidity or it's added. Now, the reason for CO2, the other reason for the bubbles is CO2. And we know that there are four ways, or actually five ways, of creating the sparkling wines. Yeah. One is, traditional method that was invented by British, English, sorry. The other one is transfer method that is used in Germany. Then we have Charmat method, and then we have carbonization, and then we have this first method that is called method rural or ancestral, like Claret de Die or Blanque de Limon, okay, where the CO2 starts uh, just by fermentation of the wine directly in the bottle. But I'm not going to bother you with that. What is important for the added acidity and the Charmat method or tank method, okay? Once you start swirling the glass, after even 10, 15 seconds, those bubbles will become so rare, okay? They will almost disappear, so wine would become almost flat, okay? When you look at a wine, there will be a lot of bubbles going up. But as I said, soon you start swirling, they will start disappearing. Whether for the transfer and especially for the traditional method, you will just have few streams. So if wine was closed for longer time, okay, then you will have less streams, okay? And once you start swirling the glass, you will still have almost the same intensity of the bubbles. All right? So that's how you can initially check if wine was made by traditional method, transfer method, Charmat, carbonization, or method rural. Okay? I think, I hope this is clear. If something is not clear, please write me the question in the comments, and I will certainly answer. It would be my pleasure. When we look at the bottom of the wine glass, we might see bubbles like this, okay, which we cannot find here, all right? Or we might see bubbles which are going in streams. Now these bubbles, once we swirl the glass, okay, I'll do it now, okay, might disappear, or maybe you just have few left. Second thing that we will check in the wine is the reflection. When we say reflection, that's actually overall brightness of the wine. Even like this, I believe you can see which wine is brighter. Okay? I hope you see that this wine has a kind of brighter appearance. Now, I will show you one more technique how to do it. Well, obviously, that's going to be very difficult to film and put on the camera. I will try it with my mobile phone, but we'll see if it's going to work. However, wine has obviously some glycerol on the surface. Uh, that means that when wine is young, it should have high reflection. But also wines which are older but aged in the barrel would also have pretty much high reflection. So those two things we will determine then by color. However, a reflection we usually put in the three different levels. You can name them the way you want. I call them day bright for the, let me say, medium reflection. I call them star bright for the low reflection, and the brilliant for the high reflection. So if you wanted to put it from top to the bottom, it's a brilliant, day bright, star bright. But you can do it the way you want, what you can remember. Now, let me now try to show you another way instead just trying to see which wine is, well, obviously this is very young wine and this is very old wine. So it's very easy even to recognize that this one is much brighter. But I will show you another technique. So try to get some objects, okay, in the surface, and then you will see which wine gives you more mirror effect. As you can see, left wine, which is young, 2024 vintage, has a much higher reflection and way more clean and clear image. Okay, I hope this gives you an idea, but in general, you can, in such a big difference of wines, you can even without this see the properly the brightness of the wine. So the left wine would be brilliant, and the right hand wine would be star bright. So, what is the color of the young wines? Depends on the grape variety. For example, Chardonnay has this usually yellow to golden color, while Sauvignon Blanc has this pale greenish color. So that's something up to you to learn by experience. But everything else is the same. White wines become dark or darker in the color, and the red wines become lighter in the color by age. Now, we don't have only white and red wines. We have rosé, we have orange wines, we have yellow wine. What's going to happen with the wine that is made, white wine that is made from red grape varieties like a Blanc de Noir? Well, it's going to be the same. White wines become dark and red wines become light in the color. Simple as that. Now, certainly, some of you might ask what this guy is talking about. What is this yellow wine? Well, we'll talk about that. However, that's the Vigneron wine that is made pretty much similar to the sherry, Fino sherry, and obviously has this a little bit yellowish color. But that's something that I'm going to cover later on during the course.
So, this is a young Chardonnay 2024. As you can see, the color in the center is the same as on the edge, and even the horseshoe has the same hue, just more intense. Okay? And now, when we compare to the Chardonnay, which is older, we can see that is goldish. In the center, here is more gray. It's interesting. Although should be the same, yeah, hue because it's just a part, but it's not. And then we can notice this amber color on a side, which is different hue than from the center. Okay. Now, when we check on this one, we'll see that is just more intense, but this one is different. It's very dark. Am I right? Okay, good. So this wine is 2024 and this one is 2015. So it's a very old wine. Okay, so you can see how this difference is big, really. Okay, so how about red wine? This is 2024. You see this beautiful ruby color. Okay, the same hue everywhere, and even the horseshoes, which is well, obviously I should pour a little bit more wine in this one, but we can check on like this. Okay, you see that it's just very intense. Okay, and this is 2008 vintage. You see brick color. Here is much lighter. Yeah, so it's almost yellow and orange, and as you can see, gray horseshoe. So I hope this is a good example of young and old wine with white and red.
So the next thing we should check with the wine is something that's called waterline. What is waterline? Waterline is actually the glycerol. You see, during the fermentation, the yeast also create glycerol. Now, wine that has 12.5 or 12% of alcohol usually has the waterline thick as a tip of the ball pen. or maybe the waiter's friend, the knife. Okay. However, if waterline is thicker, and the level of alcohol we will check later on with the amount of legs. But if a waterline is thicker, that might be indication of the fermentation with a higher temperature, although the difference in that case is not really such a big. And also can be indication of aging in the barrel or maybe the amphoras. Why is that important for us? Well, apparently it's not really important um, in the sense of quality of the wine, unless we want to check if somebody added the glycerol, which is forbidden by law. But we might check if winemaker is trying to fool us. For example, they say, okay, this wine aged in the barrel for 16 months. Okay, but actually he just put the chips in the fermentation tank, for example. Or if winemaker says, okay, I use new French barrique, Trancé, Vosges, Limousin, doesn't matter which oak, okay, they're very expensive. And that's why my wines are more expensive. And then we can check, well, maybe there is increased level of glycerol, but then by aroma we can determine was wine just done in old barrels, okay, with added chips, or even just in the amphoras, or maybe with the oxygenerators. There's a machine that put the pure oxygen during the after the fermentation is done, so the polyphenolics get better polymerized. Anyway, the use of the wood in white wine is not really necessary unless your wine is not complex in aromas, so you want to give them some more aromas. Those wines can get more, as I said, viscosity, or actually they can get more thick, all right, maybe a little bit more body. But the real purpose of using the barrel is in the red wines, because red wines, they have tannins, which might be punching, like sticking, like a needles, okay, if they are single. So when you add oxygen or obviously air, then those tannins, they get into the chains, which is called polymerization. So then they become very soft on the palate. They will still dry. Maybe they will still make this drying sensation, but they will not be unpleasant. They will be very pleasant and sometimes even sweet in the aftertaste. So, how can we check the waterline?
So do you see this transparent line here at the end? Well, that's called waterline. So you should always check on the waterline for the waterline on the other side of the glass. You don't need to tilt the glass because waterline will get obviously thicker. And we can now check on the other glass. Oh, ho, ho. Here we go. You see it? And you can also notice that thickness is the same in both wines because both wines have 12.5% of alcohol. Now, let me check the waterline with red wines. In red wines, you see it? And I guess you can notice that these ones are a little bit thicker. Okay, here we go. They are so well visible like this. Here we go. You see? While the other ones, they are a little bit thinner. Here we go. So let me check again. Here we go. You see how thick this is? Okay, so it's a thicker than the white wine. And then the other one, it has the same thickness. Don't consider this one as a waterline. This is just a wine, but as I said, become very transparent because of the color. You see, still it's brownish, but this is waterline. And you see that is the same thickness as the other wine. Obviously, both wines aged in the barrel at the same time, and the percentage of alcohol in both wines is 13.5.
And now we will check. Now we will check, compare the level of water line with the thickness of the water line with the level of alcohol. Um, that's the matter of the experience to remember the thickness. And as I said, you can use either the opener or you can use the ball pen to check this level of thickness and to compare with the level of alcohol. But how are we gonna check the level of alcohol? We will check it by something that's called legs, or somebody likes to call it tears, or in Germany they like to call it church windows. However you call it, it's the same thing. The liquid of higher gravity tries to push out liquid of lower gravity, and obviously the alcohol and glycerol is the lower gravity, and that's why we will get those legs. Now, if alcohol in the wine, if wine has a less alcohol content, then the amount of, I mean, the time that legs will be created will be faster. They will be sooner be created quickly. But then they will start dropping slowly and there will be no many legs. And the opposite, if wine has a lot of alcohol, then the time for the creation of the legs will be slower. But then legs, there will be much more legs, and legs would go way faster, just drops. I also forgot to tell you that aging in the barrel, by aging in the barrel, wine evaporates. Okay, so it means that annually it evaporates up to 5%. And it's similar to angel share, but angel share with the spirits usually just alcohol evaporates, okay, at least much faster than the water itself. In wine, water and alcohol evaporates, but the glycerol doesn't evaporate, it's not volatile. So it means when you add new wine to fulfill the barrel, it can be the same vintage or usually older vintage, you will give the same amount of the alcohol into the wine, but the glycerol will be higher content because you are adding more glycerol. Okay, is this clear? So alcohol and water evaporates and you just replace with the same amount of wine. So it's the same percentage of alcohol in the wine. But since glycerol doesn't evaporate, then glycerol will be higher content. And that's why wines that age in the barrels have thicker water line. So now, if we know that wine that has 12.5% of alcohol has thin water line as thick as the tip of the ball pen or this opener, then it means that if we recognize 13.5% or 12.5% of alcohol in this wine, but we have thicker water line, then wine obviously aged in the barrel. Okay? Mm, very interesting. So, let's see how these legs look like.
So we will swirl the glass, hopefully clean one, not like this. And then this is how it looks like. You see how legs fall down quickly? I mean, quickly. I wanted to say how legs fall down, how the appearance of the legs is quick, but legs don't go very fast. They go kind of medium speed. And you see it's a quite good amount of legs. Okay? We try to do the same thing with this one. You see, it's a smaller amount of legs. You see how slow they go down. I hope you see. Beside, you see the dirty glass because I already touched it million times. You see? Very slowly.
I hope you notice the difference between amount and speed of legs with the wine that has 12.5% and wine that has 13.5% of alcohol. Now, the last thing that we should check with the white wine is the clarification of the wine, or something that's called cold stabilization in the white wine. We don't need to do that in the red wine. Why is that? If we had two wines or more wines which are similar quality, all right, or similar character, then the aesthetic would be something that will make this decision which wine is better, okay, or which wine will uh, win the competition. All right. So, what is the cold stabilization and the clarification? White wine, same like red wine, has the tartaric acid. Okay, it's a main acidity in the wine. But tartaric acid is unstable on the temperature. So when you cool down the wine, tartaric acid will start to create salts. And those salts we will see at the bottom of the glass as a little crystals. Okay. Now, so to get rid of it, we can do it with meta B tartaric acid. So it means it's a stabilizer, but it doesn't last for long. So the natural way is the best. It means that we will chill down the wine even up to minus 5% degrees Celsius. Okay. Uh, Once we chill the wine down and the tartaric salt of tartaric acid is created, then we will filter the wine, okay? And after that, before we bottle the wine, we will also do clarification. What is that? In the red wines, clarification is done to get rid of some polyphenolics that we don't need. So we will use proteins, whether that, well, it used to be bull's blood, for example, egg white, or maybe fish bladder, or things like that. Okay. In the white wine, it's usually used bentonite, which is a type of clay that actually gets rid of the proteins that can make us really, really sick right after drinking the wine, or, well, in the bad cases of getting drunk. Yeah. However, um, that bentonite would take everything off, and then when everything falls down, then we would again filter the wine. Some people these days don't like to filter the wine, so you'll find a lot of sediments, especially in the red wines. Very seldom in the white wines, but there are some people who do that too. So, how can we check on the quality of the cold stabilization? I'll show you in a second.
So when you swirl the glass, okay, then I mean the wine in the glass, you will see wine dropping down, and then you will see creation of small dots like this one here. So I will repeat. Okay, here we go. You see, the wine is going down and then creates. Okay, this camera. Here we go. Sorry. We have to wait until wine goes down and then leaves these little circles, which are dots, like this one here, here, here. You see how many? And that's not the dirty glass. I mean, obviously, glass is not really clean after so much touching. But you see, here we go. Here, here. You see how many? Here. Okay, I hope you got an idea about how to recognize these little crystals which are incorporated in the wine, so we don't see it on the bottom, but they are in the wine.
So that was all for the visual evaluation of the wine. As I said, all things that you notice in the wine, you should write down on the paper. And then when you finish all three segments, when you pass through the complete evaluation of the wine, then you can read what you wrote, and then you can try to determine what is not. And that means that you will come to the point what it is, which means if color is like this, obviously it's not Sauvignon Blanc, so can be eliminated and can be stay Chardonnay, Malvasia, or something like that. Okay, for red wines as well. If you had any question, please don't hesitate to write down in the comment, and it would be my pleasure to answer them. I hope you liked this lecture, and certainly if you did, spare a second to press like. And obviously, if you would like to be informed or not, if you would like to get notification when I post another part of the lecture or any other later on video, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great time.